Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Eternity. Let's hide the log. Let's give me a moment to remember what we are supposed to do. Um, I
Of
mean,
course.
I need to lower the volume a little bit. Apparently, there's a grieving woman. The woman looks briefly through you as if she doesn't know you're there. The middle-aged peasant woman is dressed in a brown leather cloth draped down to her knees. Her hands are working at separating stringy, colorless vegetables in a pile before her, stripping the heads off the long, fibrous stems with a paring knife. She discards the stems one by one, placing the heads of the vegetables into a small cradle-like basket in front of her. She doesn't greet you as you approach. You're not sure she even knows you're there. Excuse me? The woman doesn't respond. She keeps stripping the heads from the vegetables with a steady rhythm. She may be deaf. There's no indication she heard you. Let's study her. At first glance, she seems nothing more than a middle-aged woman, unremarkable, maybe less stern than most, who seems more focused on the weaving in her lap than her surroundings. Yet you suddenly notice she's not stripping the vegetables before her any longer. She's weaving, and the vegetable pods are now missing. She still pays you no mind, her brown locks torn and snagged from lack of washing, like many of the townsfolk you've seen. There is a strange blur to her. Even the motions of her hands seem to be playing with threads that lack color, in a shape that lacks interest. It may be that she is half-minded or deaf, but something feels wrong. As you watch, her knitting takes on an odd cadence, and you have a terrible suspicion that something lurks beneath what your eyes are showing you. Focus on her. Her brown hair is long, almost impossibly to the length of her hands. As you follow the streams of her locks downwards, the hairs become long and black, splitting off into threads of black and silver, and wrapping around her hands. She is forming a soul cradle with the threads, braiding a net in front of you, each finger long and sharp like a series of knitting needles, almost hypnotic. The silver and black strands of her hair weave together, with silver predominating as a highlight, the black shadowing it. And suddenly, you are calm. You are on a plateau, almost the height of a tower, several stories high. The plateau is like a table lying beneath a clear sky, and beneath the plateau, surrounding it in all directions, a forest, hazy with mist. Although whether it is actual mist, or distance, or a recollection. Resting in the curve of a natural arch above you is a great copper bell, half again the size of a man, hanging at attention, as if looking down on you and the event unfolding before you. The plateau has soaked in the sun, and the rock beneath you is rough and warm. The sky forms a cradle around you. You feel different, not disembodied, but you feel your body. Your physical contours have changed along with the surroundings, and you hear a soft series of chimes, like wind chimes. At the sound, the scene gains color and texture, as if the sound is beckoning you gently forth, filling your senses and thoughts, like mist rolling softly into a sealed chamber, and the chime coaxes you deeper into the memory, and you're certain it is a memory, a warm one. You are on the stone of the plateau, your knees on the warm texture of the ground, silver, white, shimmering like ochre. The plateau is formed of it, glistening in the sun. You can feel the heat on your skin, your wrists, and your hands. Your hands are in motion, weaving, not thread, but gathering, tenderly moving along the first movement of Bera's wheel. Your hands are wet. Your hands are upon the flesh of a newborn child, and you can feel the crowning of a tiny head turning in your grip, its head sleek, wet from the womb. The hands you are wearing, inhabiting, have done this many times, and they are practiced and confident. You can feel distant pains in your own head as the head emerges, a stream of fluid from the womb helping the newborn slide forth, and a woman's labored breathing, crying out. As your hands move, you hear the sound of chimes, clear, cutting through the haze of memory. You cannot see where they are coming from, but they are close, and they are meant as a comfort. Of that you are certain. And coaxed by your hands, every movement causing the chimes to sound again. Almost eagerly the child comes forth, and as it does, your hands are in motion, weaving, weaving, moving along the length of a soft, wet rope. No, an umbilical cord from the legs of the naked woman before you. You are holding a small child, still wet from the womb before you. The child cries out, its cry full of life, full of soul, the ringing of chimes echoing in its thoughts, filling it with its welcome. The soul is blurred at the edges, but if you are viewing a soul from within a soul, but it is there, it is alive. The woman before you is weeping, and at her first cry, her hands reach out for it. You surrender the child to her, something you have done many times before, and as your hands move, the chimes echo the movement, and you realize the chimes are hanging from cords on your wrists, and where once they echoed in the memory, they are now echoing in the child's mind as well. The chimes are intended to welcome the child, to be its first gentle greeting into the world, a soothing sound guided by the tender motion of your wrists. You are helping to weave its thoughts, its perceptions, and the experience. The experience. The woman laughs with a ragged joy, laughing from a parched throat. Her emotions seem soothed, but the physical demands of labor have left her exhausted. But the child is here. The child is safe. And all atop the plateau is peaceful, calm, distant, fluttering out as the memory persists. With effort, the scene bleeds of color, and your mind becomes your own again. There is no pull, no anchor, yet the sound of the chimes remains. As they existed in the memory, the sound here as well. And they are hanging from woven braids on the wrists of the woman before you. Even as your head is spinning from the touch of her mind, the sound of the chimes on her wrists is sharp and clear, as if coaxing you back to the real world. The woman still sits before you, but she is nothing like what you first saw. She is wearing black, shredded garments that drape over her form like streamers. Her hair is streaks of black and run through with silver. Her age is almost impossible to tell. She simply feels old, like a crumbled watchtower. As she lifts her head to face you, you see that her hair is draped across the front of her face, like a veil. What you first saw of her was a mental glamour of some sort, unconscious, and you realize what you see is not what the world sees, and you are perhaps the first to see her true self. Still, you don't sense a threat in the realization. If anything, you feel a sense of relief from the figure. You can hear her thoughts, and she is glad to at least last be seen. What was that?
I am seen, but the eyes of others do not remember. You were the first to see me as I am, the call stripped aside.
There is a light touch to your mind, a caress, and her left hand mirrors the motion of the touch, reaching up to the air between you. You hear the chime on her wrist sound softly. Her hand moves as if pantomiming, resting on your cheek at a distance, and she speaks softly and slowly.
Your memories. A cadence of wheels on a caravan track. Fever. Questions by running water. Violence in a night's campfire. Arrows in the dark. And fleeing. Falling rock and cracking stone. And a storm. The storm. The storm that brushed you. Did its screaming wake you from your mind's cradle? Your memory of it is painful. Its cry is difficult to ignore. It's like a child. Many children crying out.
I encounter a Biavat, yes, and it did something to me. Her hand withdraws shyly, the chime sounding softly once again. The woman stands uncertainly, as if she has been sitting for some time, or is too weak to bear her own weight. You notice her cheekbones are tight, her face gaunt, yet while her stance is weak, she seems determined to stand before you.
You are able to see me.
It is almost a question. You suddenly realize she doesn't seem to know what you saw when you looked at her. The image on the plateau. Yet the image was so clear, so sharp. You're surprised she didn't feel you there.
To see me is a rare gift. A watcher's gift.
Was I helping a woman give birth? I was in your head and hers.
So many questions, thoughts whirling like storm winds. That storm still roars through you, deep beneath your thoughts, yet muted and secret, like an underground river. I cannot tell if it is carving new channels or eroding what keeps your true strength buried. The fact that you could hear it at all, survive it, is something few have ever done. Your power will grow stronger with each soul you touch, as it allowed you to reach out to mine.
There is a silence, and although it seems to last for but a heartbeat, in your thoughts it stretches out between the two of you, like a pool between your minds. You blink, take a breath, and then you realize she wants to ask you a question, yet can't form the words, as if assembling them is painful. Or there simply are not enough pieces. Do you wish to travel with me? You feel a wave of fear, gusted with the strength of relief, although oddly, her expression does not change. Then fear dissipates, and you feel strength and certainty, as if the plateau from her memory lies beneath you, and a calm sky looks down upon you. Yay. But now we have one guy, new guy here. Okay, who I find most interesting? I'm sorry, Kana, you are staying at the keep. I mean, it's not bad. Okay, who are you? You have focus. Who are you? You are Cypher. Okay, let's give you some survival, that's for sure. I'll give you some athletics as well, just so you have the second wind. Nice try. Blinds. I like that. Soul shock. Damage. Yeah. Biting whip. Biting whip. Plus 20% melee damage, plus 20% range damage, yes. Some more survival, perhaps. Some more lore. Mind blades, that sounds nice. And one more psycho-vampiric shield. Some more lore, some more stealth, no, some more athletics. Phantom foes. Minus 10 enemies needed to flank. Minus 10? And let's give you also, do you have it? Wound binding, yes. Another lore. Active psychic echo. And soul ignition. Oh, or maybe separate all horrors. Okay. Fracture volition or soul ignition. Oh, maybe puppet master. I think soul ignition. Prestidigitator's missiles. Or maybe something defensive. Burst fortitude or body control. Mental fortress. Mental fortress. One more. I really like Silent Scream and Mind Lance. Done. 22 focus points, whatever that is. Oh, he did not leave us with his stuff. Okay, can I access this? Yes, sure we can. You are using dagger and fine crossbow. So unfortunately I don't think I have something better for you. Maybe some armor. You are using light armor. Let's give you this for now. Can you? No, I have no idea who can use that. Oh, a ranger, okay. Let's give you this. Spell defense bonus. I don't think those helmets give you anything, so that will be all that I give you now.
Of course.
You have a name. No, you don't. I've read plenty of those backgrounds, so I think we're done with that. Hidden as
Hail,
apothecary.
traveler.
A young woman leans against a wagon. One arm and one side of her face are covered in bandages, with raw, rippled flesh showing underneath. A minty, tangy scent wafts from her dressing. She smiles painfully. Just ventured into town. I am about to try on some of my stocks, but you're welcome to have a look-see. Why are stocks limited? It's the damn roads! Can't reach none of my suppliers, so I'm stuck with whatever I can scrounge up in the woods. Deer cup, river reed, and the like. But, well, that's well and good, but most potions require something stronger too. Troll skin, vessel bone, what you have. And then there's the really rare ingredients, things you'd never be able to afford, let alone find on your own. Come on, spit it out. Hedina winces as the rest of the story comes tumbling out of her. I've been keeping an eye on a drake's nest east of town, at Deerford Crossing. The beast stayed just long enough to lay a clutch and moved on. Thank the Sky Mother it wasn't a full-grown dragon. She looks at her bandages, arm, and grimaces. Fresh eggs are much more useful than the ones that get passed between merchants or left in nests for weeks or more, and that clutch looked to be at its peak. Though I would see about getting an egg, but I didn't realize so many of them had already hatched, or that the young worms were so territorial. I could get you an egg for you. She keeps her gaze steady, but you see hope kindling in her eyes and twitching at the corners of her mouth. I sure hope you're not leading me on. I don't think I could stand getting burned again. She bites her lip. If you really mean to go after it, I would certainly pay you. Just remember, big as they are, dragon eggs are fragile, and there's a lot more I can do with a whole one.
Gods keep you.
She adjusts one of her bandages. Anything else I can do for you? I've got some handy ointments if you're braving the roads anytime soon. I'm looking for an Orlan named Nifre. I did see an Orlan lady headed into the Dracogen just the other day. She points across the road at the large building. Don't know what her name was, but she was acting real sneaky-like. What's wrong with the road? A noise of disgust rattles from her throat. Brigands, looters, you name it. The gods may be hollowing out our babies, but it's grown folk that's robbing the rest of us. People scrambling to Defiance Bay because they hear there's healthy births there. And all those refugees in abandoned homes attract desperate sorts like flies and dog shit. Okay, show me your wares. By the way, I can sell you some stuff. Not this. And this. And also, now give me back the ring. Yep. Wait, where did that ring go? Okay. Do you also have... No. Okay, never mind. I was looking for some supplies. Hello.
Welcome.
A portly, smiling man stands behind a warped wooden counter, polishing a buckler. He looks up. Haven't seen you before. Always glad to see a new face in town. Company's good for business and charter's good for the soul. That's what I always say. Anyhow, what can I do for you? What's been going on in Deadfire? Oh, we are a quiet little town. Not much happens here. Especially since the legacy hit. People realized they couldn't have babies and just stopped trying altogether. And that takes a lot of excitement out of the day-to-day, if you can believe it. Okay, show me what you have for sale. Oh, that's a pike. We don't use pikes. What are you using? Oh, I don't know. Fine crossbow. No, I think you have your one. You have better one. God damn it, I have no idea it would be that hard to say. Ooh, I like this. Light armor. Low DR. But it has 5 enchantments. Wait. It grants. Oh, not this. Fine athletic major spellbind deleterious alacrity of motion. Mosquito is a rapier. No, but he's using saber. Two-handed sword, rod. Okay, thank you. Oh, but you have something nice. Chanter area of effect. Ooh, plus 20%. Please. Katana. And Boots of Zealous commands. Yeah, sure. Might as well. But what do I have right now? I have this. Oh, fortitude plus will blood. Okay. me that. And some boots. Zealous command. Zealous aura. Oh, maybe for you. No? Only usable by paladin. We don't have paladin. Okay. Do you have anything on your back? No. Oh, you are using spear. I'm not willing to buy anything for you just yet. Okay, let's check out what else can we see. This some gear, some this. Therefore the mill with already visited. Let's leave the inn for last.
Can you smell the oily notes of brain fat in the air? Cured leather always makes me so hungry.
Okay. Dorgil's Curriery. I can find it anywhere. I know. We'll talk about this later. Get back to the dice. I'll take care of our customer.
Gods keep you.
A sturdy, broad-shouldered man wipes his hands on his slacks. He reeks of the same foul compound wafting from their vats, and his arms are stained with dye. You looking to purchase some leather? Rambout mentioned something about an ogre. He's hardly talked about anything else since those pigs of his went missing. The whole town's been worried about that monster. People are starting to see shapes in their windows at night, hearing its growl and the snoring of their mates. I would put a lot of minds at ease if someone got rid of it. He scrapes at red pigment under his fingernails. I sometimes venture into the wilderness, collecting ingredients for my dyes, mind you. I've seen tracks east of here, near the river, that couldn't have been anything else. He wipes a splotch of dye from his elbow with his shirt tail. Something else you need? Have you seen Nifri, an Orlan from Defiance Bay? I make it a point to keep out of other people's business. What's in the collapsed tower? It's collapsed. Nothing. He rolls his eyes and shrugs. A few hides on stretching racks and that the towel-stained danglers always grumbling about. The rest of the keep's dust. Just like the fool lady Tai knew who tried to hold it. There's a bard at the inn who'll tell you the whole blazing story if you want to hear it. Okay, please show me what you have for sale. Why do you have dagger? No, she has better dagger, I think. It's really a shame that I cannot really check. Oh, I can. No, I cannot. Huh. Never mind then. I'm not the one for chit chat, but like, try to speak to Turtle if you've got questions.
How about that?
Oh, okay, so it works. The mod works, so either that or that was really easy to find. Courier's key. Stay out of my private quarters. That goes for you and Harren's bootlickers. Okay. Don't you have a back entrance by any chance? I mean, I do have a key. So that wouldn't be really a... well, it would be a trespassing. Okay, so what left do we have here? Is that this inn? Oh, you are so far away. For someone who uses dagger? Okay, I'll give you the crossbow. Hireling payday, total wages paid 400. Fine. Oh, Sid, do I know you?
Hello.
A redhead stands by the fire, tuning her lute and plucking its strings. She hums snatches of a melody as she goes. First time at the track again. Normally I would have a song ready, but I haven't quite worked out this tune yet. I'm writing some chants about the founding of the scene. Say, you interested in the story? I haven't finished the chants, but I could tell you about it all the same. Sure, let's have it. It was built in the time of Hadra's rebellion. An Adarian lady Thane once had a keep here. One of the towers still stands, but the rest is said to be buried under the village. Anyway, she's the dark to the east side of the empire, and a contingent of Duke Hatred's Knight of the Crucible helped the farmers and colonists in the area turn her keep to rubble. This inn was the first building that sprang up from the ruin. Built with some of the same bricks the colonists had pulled from the Lady Thane's castle, they say. Supposedly, the quarterstaff of her chief wizard even got lost in the construction, mortared into a wall, or nailed under a floorboard. Anyway, the inn was supposed to be a haven for a meeting place while the locals built their new town. What do you mean supposed to be? The Woodens are an ornery lot, and the more these new neighbors met, the more they argued. They realized they didn't agree on much besides outstaying the old lord. The biggest divide was over the Glanfadans and their nearby ruins. Hadred's knights and their supporters wanted to keep the peace, but a group of misfits with more anarchic clearings that had formed in town wanted to go after the tribes the same way they would gone after their lord. Soon the villagers were fighting with each other as much as with the Aedirians. In the end, memories of the Broken Stone War and the War of Black Trees were fresh enough that the Duke's soldiers won the day. Most of the other villagers came around eventually, but some of the core troublemakers left to join the front lines of the War of the Defiance, and others, I've heard, found their way into the guided compass, the most forward-looking of the Glanfatan tribes. I don't know if I believe that part myself, but it makes a good story. She points to the east wall. There's a portrait of one of the chief rabble-rousers and his rival in the peacekeeping faction. Someone's idea of a joke. I don't think they were particularly amused. I want to hear about the Broken Stone War. That was the first major conflict between the original Adarian settlers and the Glanfatans. Happened 3 years ago, 3 years into colonization, when some farmers knocked over an Adra menhir that was part of an Engwyfian ruin. The war didn't last long, but it spread quickly and claimed thousands. In the early weeks, most of the colonists didn't even realize there was a war going on until the Glanfatan raiders hit their villages. There had been small, spontaneous skirmishes between the colonists and the locals before then, but this was organized, and it was the start of decades of violence between the colonists and the Glanfatans. As you can see, there was full of history, even in little villages like this. Then tell me about the story about the War of Black Trees. It started back in the colonial days, almost 30 years after the Broken Stone War. Even though isolated conflicts still broke out between the settlers and the Glanfatans, both sides had officially agreed to peace. A drunk Hadred, Admev's father, was Gref at the time. As part of peace negotiations, he would sign treaties prohibiting Adarian colonists from looting Engwyfian ruins. However, he would be unable to outlaw the use of captured Glanfatans as slaves. What's a Gref? A Gref is the governor of a colony and is subservient to the Adarian emperor. The early leaders of the Adair colony in the Dirwood, including Endrang and Admev Hadred, were Grefs. At the start of the War of Defiance, Admev Hadred declared himself Duke of an independent Dirwood, rather than Gref of the Emperor's colony. It was the same term used for leaders of the newly independent Violent republics. Anyway, we haven't had a Gref since... I see. Indeed, the taking of Glanfatan slaves had continued to be a source of conflict. It came into a head when Imperial agents, aided by certain earls in the Derwood, began looting the ruins again. See, the Empire had never actually agreed to Hadred's treaties on the matter, and the recent secession of the Valiant Republics likely left them eager to weaken Hadred's position. The looting sparked a brutal slave uprising and a guerrilla campaign among the Glenfaddans. Edranc Hadred was too old to lead forces into battle, and so he sent his son, Admeth. Admeth made a costly but effective decision that ended the war faster than anyone could have imagined. He burned the forest near the Iskeien River to keep the Glenfaddan war bands from retreating. Thousands of Glenfaddans died, and as Admeth repeated his scorched earth tactics in the following months, he wore down the remainder of their forces. To this day, over 150 years later, there are still sections of the Derwood where the trees are nothing but bare, charred trunks. I see. But with that, I'll end this part here, so thank you very much. Stay alive and see you soon. Bye.